Gamer. We got the first games of the Cleveland at Boston and Dallas at OKC. Should be the Dallas OKC especially should be a very good series. I don't expect the Cleveland Boston series to last long. I expect Boston to shoot poorly in one game, maybe lose that one, and they'll I think pretty handily the rest of the game. So we'll go game by game and talk about it.
So first of all, I would like to shout out. I really want to shout out these referees in the Knicks game. I thank you so much.
Yeah, wow,
the best. I mean, they are just the best. They're like, Tibbs, you're just so bad. We just have to just freaking bail you out in any freaking way possible. And that, I mean, they're just killing each other the whole game. And the softest moving screen they called in history on Miles Turner or whoever it was.
And then before the inbounds call, like on the foul,
much appreciated. Listen, but the problem is they're never going to actually win the championship because what happens is, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I basically, we talk in poker about using my one time. Like you only have one time that you can use, like for all the poker gods and whatever it is, and once you use it, that's it. So I unfortunately used my one time back in like 1982. Or 83 when I rooted for the Patrick Ewing lottery, and so when they fixed the Patrick Ewing lottery, that was my one time, and so everything else that the Knicks, I basically sold my soul, like one of those old Crossroads stories, whatever. I sold my soul to the devil long back then. So that's why John Starks goes 1 for 18 against Houston. That's why the Knicks are just like, even if they become good, they just have no chance to win. So this year they're trying to just basically let the refs just kind of like boat the Knicks home somehow. And I'm here for it, So good on the referees. Good for 1-0 with getting outscored bench play 74-5 or whatever it is, and love it. Just love it. Happy to be up 1-0.
Yeah, that was a wild situation there. One thing I did want to throw out there, I was a little frustrated because I did really well in the showdown of the second game.
Did you have the Isaiah Jackson? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't have the Isaiah Jackson, but you didn't need to because Kyle Anderson and all those guys. What was shocking to me was that hardly anybody was playing Kyle Anderson, Towns, and Naz Reid all together, and I did not understand why. And I had all of those guys as captains, and so I literally was. Some of my first place when I was tied for first was like $500 because I was tied with 400 people. Some of them were like 20,000 because but it was bouncing in and out, and I only ended up like a little more than doubling my money on that one. But it was frustrating. I also want to point out that when they announced the Gobert thing, I should have done a better job at our 6 p.m. show because Gobert, basically his wife's pregnant and he was going to be with her. They didn't know if he'd make it back in time for the game. Those types of personal things are legit when they're legit questionable. And they make it so many people played the value in the first game, and Kyle Anderson ended up 15% owned on a slate. He probably should have been 95% owned. It was weird. And Towns 30% owned when he probably should have been 80% owned. Naz Reid, what was he, 40% owned when he should have been 100% owned. It just was weird that the way it worked out. You just had the incredible value. And shout out to Minnesota for that was the best defensive game I've seen a team play, and I can't even remember how long. Anyway. Moving on to today's slate, we are going to talk about Cleveland and Boston first.
No. My thing I wanted to mention was the Isaiah Jackson was from the Indiana game. I had like 15% of him in showdown. He was 3%. He was 3% owned in showdown.
Oh my God, it's crazy. And I was wondering how he would stand up in the showdown lineups if he would be able to make it anywhere because the other value all crushed.
It sucked. He was. I had basically at halftime, I was like in first, third, ninth, 12th. I mean, I had the whole board, and because no one else was getting there. And then McConnell went off, and you didn't. Not that you didn't need Jackson, but it wasn't as big of a deal. Like Jackson didn't even make the winning lineup at the end of the day.
That's because he was only 3%. I think he might have been optimal actually. I think he was.
Well, because Toppin as chalk got, you know what I mean? Like it was whatever.
No, but it was. I mean, it's pretty wild. I was surprised about that because they haven't played Isaiah Jackson, and all of a sudden, I guess they like him in the series. Something we'll have to look at going forward. I get why too because he matches up well with specifically with Mitch Robinson. All right, so Cleveland.
And the other thing that you mentioned, I mean, listen, everybody's there. You mentioned going into the series. I mean, everybody's going to try to play to their strengths, and if the Knicks are going to run 6 guys, Indiana's going to play 50 of them. You know what I mean? Like that's their best route, to wear the other team out,
Right,
so the more guys they can throw in there, the better.
But Isaiah, it was interesting because Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson took Jalen Smith out of everything because the usually the second big they bring in is Jalen Smith, but because of the energy and rebounding that Mitch Robb gives them, really smart move by Carlisle to put Jackson out there for those minutes to match those minutes.
Now, in fairness, I probably had just as much of Jalen Smith. But yeah. So in today's games, I am getting, and this probably should come as no secret. I think OKC and Dallas, this game, I'm getting the most of this game, like Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet, and like Luka, like those are the I'm getting more of them than the Cleveland Boston. I guess the total is going to reflect that as well. I guess the ownership's going to reflect that as well. What do you think from a DFS perspective about which game you'd rather target?
I think that in general I agree, but I think that to get contrarian, maybe getting some stuff in the earlier game is the Cleveland side is probably going to be a little bit lower, and actually both sides might be a little bit lower on you think. It might all change if Jared Allen's announced out again. We don't know.
That's too bad.
Whether he's going to be there, but I think he's going to play. I have a feeling he's going to tonight. If he doesn't, we have to question ourselves: are they going to do that Morris thing again, or is Niang finally going to get more minutes? I happen to have, I have a very, one of my closest two friends in the world is very close with some members of the Cleveland team. And there's not a lot of love for the coach apparently in that locker room. So he's been mixing up rotations. It's very hard to try to peg him with what he's going to do when any of these guys sit. Anyway, I love Donovan Mitchell as a priority tonight on the Cleveland side. And I know that's nothing special. It's just if this game is going to be even remotely close, I just think Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, but I think Mitchell is the more likely one at 8,600. And I think Mitchell, if Mitchell was 9,700, I don't think he and Tatum should have that different medians. I think they're very similar, given the situation. So in terms of priorities in the first game, really it's Mitchell, and then I like the idea of getting to one of White or Holiday just because he's so cheap, and then I think Horford with no Porzingis in this series is going to have to play minutes. And I love Cornette for value. The problem is we should keep in mind that if Jared Allen plays, the sneakiest play on this slate might be Xavier Tillman, because they did get Tillman and they specifically said in certain matchups, we will play Xavier Tillman minutes. And this is the absolute matchup that they must be talking about, because this is the double center matchup and you're missing your other big. So Xavier Tillman immediately, if you're playing Showdown, you're playing Xavier Tillman. You're getting exposure to that because it's speculative, but it does not necessarily absolutely have to go to Cornette. Now it's more likely to go to Cornette, but I like the idea of getting some Tillman in there. In terms of the obvious play, Hauser would be the one that I guess is the safest of those three. But that's what I've got for the first game. And
I'll do you one better, just because I'm convinced of what you just said. I'll play him in the classic slate too.
Let's go. The one. Hey, my what's it called take didn't work at all last night. But the speculative thing about Isaiah Jackson would have been awesome to have in that slate. Exactly. My Alec Burks didn't quite work out because as you said, Tibbs did not go down into that bench.
He has no interest. And the funny thing is within the New York media, they were having all kinds of speculation during the course of the day. Like should Tibbs play his guys more? Should Tibbs play other guys? Tibbs is going to diversify. Yeah, okay.
I know. It almost killed him last night. It really did.
Yeah. Well, now that he won, getting away with it, believe me, it's going to be even worse.
It's going to be worse. I know. Oh my God. All right. So this just real quick with the Dallas OKC situation. This is a time where I think you could definitely Luka's, makes sense and everything. He's 12K. And I think that I would lean towards fading him if I had to decide right now if I was playing one lineup, just because I think there are other ways to get those points with Shea, if you start off with Shea and Mitchell, for example, instead of Luka, those two guys could be close to Luka within 5-10 fantasy points. And then you're just saving so much money. So that's, I guess my initial thoughts on you don't have to play Luka in every lineup. I like the I like PJ Washington in this series. I think it's going to be a good series for him. I like Derek Jones in this series, and I'm probably going to be willing to speculate a little bit deeper into some of these benches. Cason Wallace is a value piece, but I kind of prefer Isaiah Joe. Both of them will have some ownership. Jalen Williams with a Y is an unlikely one, but the one who I want to target as again a misprojection, misownership. I think Derek Lively is. I think you should play one of Derek Lively or Gafford in your lineups. I really do. With no Kleber there, too. I think you just basically should play the rule. Go ahead, Sheets.
Oh, nothing. I was wishing. I was saying a bless you to my wife who was sneezing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were. But Gafford and Lively, I think, are both very, very, very high on my list. The only thing that worries me a little bit is Dallas can always do what I'm afraid they're going to do and play PJ Washington small up to 5. But I really like the idea of getting overexposure to Lively and Gafford. Those are, I guess, my first look takes. Any thoughts do you have about the game sheets, about the series?
No, I mean, I'm trying to build like some lineups here. SaberSim is kind of slowing on me today, so I can't even. I'm just wondering if I just ran stuff normally, if I would even get Luka.
Yeah,
probably, but maybe not. I'm again, SaberSim is acting up right now. It's like, as you see, it's like going really, really slow.
Yeah, it's going pretty slow.
So I don't know what it's going to get there, but
how about the fact that Luka hasn't scored more than 62 fantasy points in a playoff game yet?
Is that true?
Yeah, 62 has been his high. It's pretty interesting. I mean, again, he had tough matchups, but still, like, it's a little weird to see. And yeah, as Mark points out, how about those Timberwolves? Great stuff from them. Absolutely incredible. I hope that series goes longer because it looks very, very difficult for Denver to even get a shot off.
Well, I will say this. I was only able to build like 35 lineups right now, but in those 35, like Luka's in 0 of them. So
yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Shea is more of the priority at 91 than Luka is at 12. And I think that your other, the other guys you're looking at are Donovan Mitchell, I think Jaylen Brown or Tatum, and I think that, Kyrie, I guess if I'm not playing Luka, I'm probably going to get to some Kyrie, but I like the idea of I'm going to play some Luka. Don't get me wrong.
Here it goes. It's going now.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's and then again, a lot hinging on Jared Allen. At least it's in the first game. I am interested to see what if there was a rule. I know I mentioned the Gafford or Lively. I would make sure to have one of Gafford, Lively, or Washington at the very least. I just don't see how one of those guys at their prices. Washington's a little more expensive, but somebody's going to have some sort of a game. And the one great thing is, like, OKC will give up fantasy points. Like, that's okay. They don't really care if your center has a big game. They're going to play their way. They literally could care less what you do.
Well, hang on, just 1 second. It did default to the sim mode here, so I do want to see how much I'm getting if I'm going to build 5,000 lineups. I imagine I'm not going to get 0 Luka and 5,000, but let's see. Well, actually, it's impossible because that would have all the combinations. I think we're pretty close to it. But
yeah.
Let's see. Finalizing and. All right. So as far as exposure goes, I would be getting, let's see. Yeah, where did all the Luka go? I'd still be getting, this is really strange. I would be getting 4% Luka.
Wow.
Out of the top 50. If you go to 5,000 lineups, I'll get 18% of them. So so it looks like Shea is the overwhelming priority here.
Yeah.
So listen, this is a salary game, and it's one thing to have whatever 9,100, but to get up to Luka is a lot of money.
Yeah.
When the value is not that great, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that this is definitely like you could argue that Shea should be your most expensive player that you play. I think people will go to Tatum. But like you could easily do the Shea, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell as your spend ups, and then sort of, use the Lou Dortz as the middling value instead of going star, top and bottom hunting.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty reasonable route today. So we just wanted to do a quick first look. Obviously things are going to change depending on what happens with Jared Allen. That's really the one big piece of news. But we'll be live at 6 talking about it, and me and Sheets will have multiple things in there. Hopefully we'll have some sort of a sweat tonight.
Yep, that'd be nice.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody, and